there, I'm Charles, co-creator of Creepy Places New England and Creepy Places Global. I am here drinking coffee from my morning mug. Shout out from Mike from Haunted Road Media. Me and him both like coffee, and he's one of my top favorite paratubers on YouTube. Um, you might notice that this is now a second vlog for this channel, which isn't very common. It's usually a location video. I've been wanting to add more content to this channel, and it's kind of hard because the location videos can take me a long time to edit together, especially the history portion. But you also got to take into consideration that sometimes I have like this much, like 5-6 hours of video, and I got to squeeze it down. And I try to keep it interesting. What do I choose? What footage? That's my cat, by the way. He's behind the laptop computer knocking things over. He's such a sweet cat. Anyway, what do I keep in and what do I take out and how do I keep the video interesting? And so it's actually a lot of work, and I think most people can understand that. So I figured if I do a vlog at least once a month, I can release 2 videos a month. So maybe that might help with having people keep an interest in this channel. Plus, it will allow me to discuss other things. People have mentioned about wanting me to share my experience of when I was living in my last apartment that was very haunted, and I will do that. But being that it's the Halloween season, I wanted to tell you all my top 10 favorite horror films. Now, horror movies and people in the paranormal, whether they're writers or investigators themselves and stuff like that, seem to go hand in hand. Almost everybody in the field seems to really like horror films. And I started liking horror movies when I was 5 years old, back in 1984, where my parents took me to the drive-in theater to see Nightmare on Elm Street. Sure, it gave me nightmares for like the next 6, 7, 8 years, but hey, became a horror fan because of it. Caffeine, good for you. Anyway, so this is my personal opinion on these movies. I did try to make them diverse as possibly as I can, and I hope you enjoy the list. So, number 10, Ginger Snaps. There are really not too many good werewolf movies out there, but luckily Ginger Snaps is one of the good ones. It's a very dark film about two sisters, and one of them gets bitten by a werewolf, and the conflicts they have when she starts turning. It's actually the werewolf thing is meant to be a metaphor for the changes a woman has when she's getting older. You get my drift. But it is a very enjoyable. It's not necessarily the most happy. Not that horror movies have to be happy, but it's kind of dark and depressing. And that's what makes it so good. Number 9, Nightmare on Elm Street. What is there to say that hasn't already been said about this classic? This introduced us to Freddy Krueger and is one of my first horror movies I've ever seen, and has given many people over the years lots and lots of nightmares, and lots of sequels too. Unfortunately, they've had a crappy remake, but the original is still quite scary and spooky and creepy. Hey, birdie, 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 fly! Oh, must be dead or something. Anyway, number 8, The Beyond. Luci Fulci is the godfather of gore, and if you don't have a stomach for lots of gore, well, you won't like this movie. But if you do have a stomach for gore, you're in for a lovely treat with a lot of atmosphere and a lot of creepiness. Storyline's a bit, well, off, but who cares? It's the atmosphere that gets The Beyond to become a great grindhouse classic. Plus, there's a lot of gruesome violence in it and some creative kills, but also some fantastic music, some fantastic location shootings, and just so all around kind of a creepy movie. Number 7, A Tale of Two Sisters. Asian horror films are no stranger to most American horror fans. This gem of a movie comes from South Korea. It's about two sisters who have to deal with a wicked stepmother and a ghostly presence. Movies are more of a psychological horror film as it deals with the idea of guilt, mental trauma, and mental disorders. So it's a very dark film, but it's very atmospheric, very well done, and very surprisingly some good use of colors too. Number 6, Black Christmas. Black Christmas would probably get more recognition if it wasn't for another slasher movie known as Halloween. The story is kind of cliche. It's about sorority girls on Christmas time being stalked and killed by a mysterious killer. But there's a lot of suspense in it, and the girls in it are, for once, not the stereotypical bimbos. They're actually quite normal, quite intelligent. They might be a little bit wild, but it's college. We're all wild. Everybody's wild in college. But there's some really spooky moments that would definitely get the goosebumps going. He's so cute. Number 5, Zombie. Lucci Fulci makes my list again. And another gruesome gore fest. Pretty much like The Beyond, there's not much of a storyline, but what's lacking in story, it makes up with atmosphere, music, and some great makeups effect, plus some pretty gruesome gore, which is, pretty good for our nice zombie film. The movie is also pretty well known for some iconic scenes, including one involving a shark and the Brooklyn Bridge. So if you can handle some gore, which includes some eyeball gorging, you will enjoy this movie a lot. Number 4, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No list is complete without The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It is a classic, and it is still very disturbing. Though, despite the title, it is not a gory film. There's very little blood in it. It's mostly a lot of implying of violence. And most people who've seen the famous hook scene would understand the implying of violence. And sometimes that could be just as bad. But again, another classic. It's so sharp. Number 3, Halloween. Much like Nightmare on Elm Street and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this movie does not need an introduction. It gave the world the slasher genre, it gave the world Michael Myers, and it made Halloween Forever a classic. There's really not too much more to say. Number 2, The Haunting. This is a black and white classic, and you know what? It is still very scary. Story focuses on a group of people spending some time in a haunted mansion to determine if the paranormal is real. And what you have is a movie that shows less but scares more. It's more like one of those ones that less is more. Definitely a classic, definitely worth seeing. Finally, number 1, Dawn of the Dead. George Romero makes my list, and this is a superior zombie apocalypse compared with his other works such as Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, blah blah. And it had a decent remake, but nothing can beat the classic. Gave us some real good storytelling that is filled with metaphors and satire about America's love for violence and consumerism. But you do get some nice, great music, some pretty good gore effects, some great characters, and it's an all-around great zombie apocalypse. Well, that is my list. I hope you all like it, and I hope some of you do your own little tag and tell me your favorite top 10 favorite horror films. And I wish you all a happy Halloween, and look for our Halloween special at the end of this month, which will be me and Steve and friends at the Ocean State Paranormal going off to the Houghton Mansion. I am currently working on it, and I will get that out before Halloween. Till then, look for another vlog next month.